Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Virye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 7, what Prahlad learned in the womb, text 39 onwards. Raya Kalatram Pashva Sutadayo Griha Mahi Kunjara Kosha Bhutaya Sarve Artha Kama Kshana Bhangura Yusha Kurvanti Marsyasya Kiyat Priyam Chalaha. One's riches, beautiful wife and female friends, one's sons and daughters, one's residence, one's domestic animals like cows, elephants, and horses, one's treasury, economic development, and sense gratification. Indeed, even the lifetime in which one can enjoy all these material opulences are certainly temporary and flickering. Since the opportunity of human life is temporary, what benefit can these material opulences give to a sensible man who has understood himself to be eternal? So this is what spiritual progress does. Just makes us detached from the material everything. This verse describes how the advocates of economic development are frustrated by the laws of nature. As the previous verse asks, Kim Vishyopapadane, what is the actual benefit of so-called economic development? The history of the world has factually proved that attempts to increase economic development for bodily comfort through the advancement of material civilization have done nothing to remedy the inevitability of birth, death, old age, and disease. Although the scientists do say that with time we'll get rid of old age, disease, and ultimately we'll get rid of death, we'll be living forever, and this and that. Cannot do that. Everyone has knowledge of huge empires throughout the history of the world. The Roman Empire, the Mughal Empire, the British Empire, and so on. But all the societies engaged in such economic development, Sarve Artha Kama, have been frustrated by the laws of nature through periodic wars, pestilence, famine, and so on. Thus, all their attempts have been flickering and temporary. In this verse, therefore, it is said, Kurvanti Marsyasya Kiyat Priyam Chala. One may be very proud of possessing a vast empire, but such empires are impermanent. After 100 or 200 years, everything is finished. All such positions of economic development, although created with great endeavor and hardship, are vanquished very soon. Therefore, they've been described as chala. Chala means temporary. An intelligent man should conclude that material economic development is not at all pleasing. The entire world is described in Bhagavad Gita as dukkhalayam ashashvat, miserable and temporary. Economic development may be pleasing for some time, but it cannot endure. Thus, many big businessmen are now very morose because they are being harassed by various plundering governments. In conclusion, why should one waste his time for so-called economic development, which is neither permanent nor pleasing to the soul? And it's a fact that lots of money, it just doesn't give anybody any pleasure. Just some comfort is there in our mind that, yeah, I have so much of money and in my bad times it will come in handy and this and that. But does it really? This corona pandemic has really taught us many, many lessons. So many rich people died, so many of them. There's so much of money in the bank account, but still nothing could save them. Of course, having money is not wrong. I'm not saying everybody should just donate everything and then move to Vrindavan. I'm not saying that. When we are ready for that, Krishna will make arrangements. But right now, yes, make money, whatever is possible, by honest means and by just working whatever minimum you have to work. And rest of the time should be used in service of the Lord. Understanding ultimately it's only Krishna who's going to save me, and Krishna is my goal of life, nothing else. On the other hand, our relationship with Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, is eternal. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. And look at this thing. Who is telling all this? Prahlad Maharaj, the son of the basically controller of the whole universe. Of course, Hiranyakashipu wasn't the controller, but in one way, because he had pretty much won over everything. Heaven, hell, earthly planets, everything was under its control. And he's saying this economic development, just temporary wastage of time. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. The pure souls are eternally in love with Krishna. And this permanent love, either a servant, a friend, a parent, or a conjugal lover, is not at all difficult to revive. Especially in this age, the concession is that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one revives his original relationship with God and thus becomes so happy that he does not need or does not want anything material. As enunciated by Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, na dhanam, na jannam, na sundarim, kavitam, na jagadishakam. A very advanced devotee in Krishna consciousness does not want riches, followers, or possessions. Raya kalatram pashva sutadayo griha mahi kunjara kosha bhuteha. The satisfaction of possessing material opulences, although perhaps of a different standard, is available even in the lives of dogs and hogs who cannot revive their eternal relationship with Krishna. In human life, however, our eternal dormant relationship with Krishna is possible to revive. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj has described his life as Arthadam. Consequently, instead of wasting our time for economic development, which cannot give us any happiness, if we simply try to revive our eternal relationship with Krishna, we will properly utilize our lives. So that's where we should be spending our time in. But would we spend so much of time working hard to make money and then waste our time in gossiping? Just unnecessary talk. It's just wastage, complete wastage of time. And it happens everywhere. I'm not saying it happens only at homes or at office. It happens in the temples also. And in the name of association of devotees, most of the time what happens is, it's just like in office when we go with colleagues, we go for lunch or some place, it's all mundane talk goes on. And basically the talk is always about, if we analyze how good I am and how stupid others are. Whether those others are his relatives or her relatives or his other friends or in the neighborhood or wherever. People everywhere are trying to prove how smart they are and how everybody else is stupid. How I made fun of that guy, how I made more money than the other person, or whatever. Basically, this is the criteria of discussion or communication, conversation. That's not what we ought to be doing. And even in devotee circle, these kinds of talk go on. What's the point? Here we are trying to be humble, more humble than the grass on the street. And on the other hand, we are trying to prove how smart I am or how important I am. It just doesn't add up. So the time that we're available to us, just use it in service of Krishna. Nothing else than chant. Better than anything else is chanting the holy names. Text 40. Evam hi loka kritubhi kritami क्षयिष्णव सातिश्यन निर्मला तस्माद् दृष्ट श्रुत दूषणम परम भक्त्योक्त येषम भजतात्म लब्धये. It is learned from Vedic literature that by performing great sacrifices, one may elevate himself to the heavenly planets. However, although life on the heavenly planets is hundreds and thousands of times more comfortable than life on earth, the heavenly planets are not pure, nirmalam, or free from the taint of material existence. Heavenly planets are also temporary, and therefore they are not the goal of life. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, has never been seen or heard to possess inebriety. Consequently, for your own benefit and self-realization, you must worship the Lord with great devotion as described in the revealed scriptures. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kshine Punya Marti Lokam Vishanti. Even if one is promoted to the higher planetary systems by performing great sacrifices, which are accompanied by the sinful act of sacrificing animals, the standard of happiness in Swargaloka is also not free of disturbances. There is a similar struggle for existence even for the king of heaven, Indra. Thus, there is no practical benefit in promoting oneself to the heavenly planets. Indeed, from the heavenly planets, one must return to this earth after one has exhausted the results of his pious activities. In the Vedas, it is said, Tat yatheda karma, or as a material positions we acquire here by hard work are vanquished in due course of time. One's residence in the heavenly planets is also eventually vanquished. According to one's activities of piety in different degrees, one obtains different standards of life, but none of them are permanent, and therefore they are all impure. Consequently, one should not endeavor to be promoted to the higher planetary systems, only to return to this earth or descend still lower to the hellish planets. To stop this cycle of going up and coming down, one must take to Krishna consciousness. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore said, Brahmanda Brahmita Kono Bhagyavanaji. The living entity is rotating in the cycle of birth and death, going sometimes to the higher planets and sometimes to the lower. But that is not the solution to the problems of life. But if by the grace of Krishna one is fortunate enough to meet a guru, a representative of Krishna, one gets a clue to returning home back to Godhead, having achieved self-realization. This is what is actually desirable. Bhajatatma labdhe. One must take to Krishna consciousness for self-realization. So even going to heavenly planets is just temporary. It's not worth it. Spending so much of time, so much of effort to go there, but again, it's temporary, and we have to come back. So why not go to some place from where we don't have to come back? And that is the only place is spiritual world. Because material world, everything is temporary. Everything. Every planet, everything, the whole material universe is temporary. So only by promoting oneself to the spiritual world, to Krishna Loka, one does not have to come back. No more coming back to the material world. And that is possible once we are shown the path by the mercy of Guru. Yad arth ih karmani vidvan manyas krinnaraha karoti yato viparya sammukham vindate phalam. A materialistic person thinking himself very advanced in intelligence continually acts for economic development. But again and again, as enunciated in the Vedas, is frustrated by material activities, either in this life or in the next. Indeed, the results one obtains are inevitably the opposite of those one desires. So that always happens. Whatever we want, we don't get exactly as we want. We can see from our life how many desires that we have had in the past are completely fulfilled, exactly as we wanted. How many desires are partially fulfilled, and how many desires are never fulfilled. And most of the desires were never fulfilled, many of them partially, and very few were completely fulfilled. This is material world. And this is how Krishna has designed it. No one has ever achieved the results he desired from material activities. On the contrary, everyone has been frustrated again and again. Therefore, one must not waste his time in such material activities for sense pleasure, either in this life or in the next. So many nationalists, economists, and other ambitious persons have tried for happiness, individually or collectively. But history proves that they have all been frustrated. In recent history, we have seen many political leaders work hard for individual and collective economic development, but they all have failed. This is the law of nature, as clearly explained in the next verse. But we as jivas, living entities, we still work so hard. It didn't happen yesterday. It didn't happen for that person. It didn't happen for my father, my grandfather. But I'll show it to the world that I can do it. Even if one does it, so what? Then what? You're not out of the cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. Maybe you got lots of money or some great position, but every great position comes with lots of headaches. Even Indra, king of the demigods, he's always in trouble, always in anxiety. Demons are always attacking him. So what to speak of any big person of this material world? He'll always be in trouble, always. Text 42. Sukhaya dukkha mokshaya sankalpihi karmina sadapnoti haya dukkham anihaya sukha vritaha. In this material world, every materialist desires to achieve happiness and diminish his distress. And therefore, he acts accordingly. Actually, however, one is happy as long as one does not endeavor for happiness. This is what Prahlad Maharaj is saying. One is happy as long as one does not endeavor for happiness. As soon as one begins his activities for happiness, his conditions of distress begin. Wow. So you want to be happy? Don't try to be happy. Because the expectations or desires will make us unhappy. So let's see what Prabhupada says. Every conditioned soul is bound by the laws of material nature as described in Bhagavad Gita. Prakriti kriyamanani. Everyone has achieved a certain type of body given by material nature according to the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjun, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul, is present in everyone's heart. And as a living entity desires, the Lord gives him facilities with which to work according to his ambitions in different grades of bodies. As a living entity desires, so Krishna does not give on his own whatever body we have, whatever our desire was. And then obviously it depends upon how much we deserve. The Lord gives him facilities with which to work according to his ambitions in different grades of bodies. The body is just like an instrument by which the living entity moves according to false desires for happiness, and thus suffers the pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease in different standards of life. Everyone begins his activities with some plan and ambition, but actually, from the beginning of one's plan to the end, one does not derive any happiness. On the contrary, as soon as one begins acting according to his plan, his life of distress immediately begins. Therefore, one should not be ambitious to dissipate the unhappy conditions of life, for one cannot do anything about them. Ahankara vimudhatma. Although one is acting according to false ambitions, he thinks he can improve his material conditions by his activities. The Vedas enjoin that one should not try to increase happiness or decrease distress, for this is futile. Tasyeva hetu prayate kovita. One should work for self-realization, not for economic development, which is impossible to improve. So means one cannot even earn a penny more than what is destined to. But then the question is, what happens when people try to earn money by hook or by crook, by taking bribes or by cheating others, by stealing money, by robbing money? It wasn't in their karma, they're doing it forcibly. See, that is the independence God has given us. So if I try to steal somebody else's money, what will happen? We studied all about the different hellish planets. And not only that, one has to suffer in the hell. One still has to return that money with interest to the person he stole them from. And if you remember, we read about the government officials. If they take advantage of somebody's helpless position, try to extract money out of them, which hell do they go to? They go to a hell where they are put into a machine, just like the sugarcane juice comes out, their blood and everything comes out of their body, and they put it through that machine again and again. They don't die. Just everything comes out, whatever we can think of. Because they tried to squeeze money out of helpless people. So without endeavor, one can get the amount of happiness and distress for which is destined, and one cannot change this. Therefore, it is better to use one's time for advancement in the spiritual life of Krishna consciousness. One should not waste his valuable life as a human being. It is better to utilize his life for developing Krishna consciousness without ambitions for so-called happiness. Because these expectations, they make us miserable. Of course, Prabhupada here says, without endeavor, one can get the amount of happiness and distress for which he is destined. Without endeavor doesn't mean no work, without extra effort. But that's why it is called rat race, because it's so difficult to get out of the rat race. When everybody around us, everybody in the office, in our neighborhood, friend circle, relatives, in the family, everybody is working hard and forcing us. So there's a peer pressure. You should also work hard to make more money. What you're doing, you're wasting your life. This is the time to make money. When you get old, then you can chat. That's not how it goes. I'm not, as I said earlier, not against making money, but not at the cost of our spiritual development. And what is the use of that money if there is no peace and happiness in our life? So bhakti brings that peace and happiness because Krishna is there to take care of us. We have to have full faith in Krishna. And this is what today's backdrop is. It says, may Krishna steal all your worries. And he can do that. What's a big deal for him? What's a difficulty for him? So with that faith, with that surrender, with that kind of consciousness, yes, whatever I have, whatever job, business, or whatever situation I am in, it is given to me, it is arranged by Krishna. I have to work honestly, but at the same time, understanding that everything is coming by the mercy of Krishna. And I should use everything in the service of Krishna, whether taking care of the family, making family Krishna conscious, becoming myself Krishna conscious, making my house as a temple of Krishna, and trying to help others in becoming Krishna conscious. That's all it is required. Krishna is not asking us to, just like Arjuna, go out in the war battlefield and kill your guru and kill your grandfather. He's not asking us to do all this. That was for Arjuna. All we have to do is just live our life honestly in Krishna consciousness. That's all. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandar Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice class, Prabhuji. There are so many points to even meditate on. And, regarding the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Loka and the Golaka Dham is only considered as spiritual world, right? Prabhuji?
I lost you in the middle. What did you say?
So when we talk about spiritual world, only Vaikuntha Loka and the Golaka Vrindavan is only considered as the spiritual world. Even the Brahma Loka is also considered as material world.
Yeah, Brahmaloka is in the material universe. So outside the material universe, all the Vaikuntha planets, Golok Vrindavan is also Vaikuntha planet, one of the Vaikuntha planets. So that is the spiritual world.
Yes, so Lord Vishnu has his own planet, and Lord Krishna has his own. That is Golaka, and the other one is Vaikuntha, or both the same?
Well, Vaikuntha is one word, but they all are Vaikuntha planets actually.
Okay.
Lord Vishnu has unlimited forms. Narsingadev, Varadev, Vamandev, Narayan, and this unlimited. And they all have their planet. Lord Ram.
Yes.
So similarly, Krishna has his planet, Golok Vrindavan.
Right. So,
Only difference between Krishna Lok and other Vaikuntha planets is difference in the relationship between the devotees and the Lord, or the associates and the Lord. That's all.
yes, understood.
So when we talk about, so sometimes highest activities one goes to the higher planetary system all. And it says that one, after exhausting of everything, again one will have to come back to the earth, earthly planet. How about one cannot practice devotional service on the higher planet, and from the higher planet itself, one cannot reach the spiritual planet, or one must have to come back to the earthly planet?
Not must, but on higher planet, there's so much of opulence. One generally doesn't take to devotional service. One can, but generally it doesn't. Just like here, even on Earth, like in America, now there's so much of opulence. Of course, there's poverty also. Once you get here, then you understand there's so much of poverty as well. But those who are really opulent, they don't want to get into. We are happy. We are fine. What do we need to pray God for?
Right, yes. So the best planet to practice bhakti is this earthly planet only.
Yeah. And below it also, there's so much of suffering, so many punishments go on. Who's going to do chanting?
True. Yes, because pain is so much that one cannot focus on devotion.
So even on Earth, if somebody, those who are really poor, they're having hard time making their ends meet. They don't even have 2 square meals a day. They don't take up bhakti. They are so busy in just trying to get basic necessities fulfilled.
Right, Prabhuji. Yes, true. One has
So
to
it's only the middle class who takes up this bhakti process.
Right, Prabhuji. So one has to be fortunate enough to have, I would say, devotees family or a middle class family. So those who are born in the low, I mean, financially, those who are very poor, so they are also considered as the unfortunate one.
Or those who are financially very opulent, they also, in a way, unfortunate because they don't come to the platform of bhakti. I'm not saying all are like that, but in general.
Yes, rares are always there, one in thousand. So that is exceptional.
Yeah.
Also we you discussed about economic development, that one should not endeavor for the economic development. Now, how to understand a little broadly on this aspect, that if we we should have a big temple also, and then to make temple we need finance. I mean, obviously we need economy and then money also. Everyone will not endeavor to for the economic development, then Krishna will arrange everything. We don't have to worry all these things at all. That how?
That is different. That we are working for Krishna. So that endeavor is always required. But even in that field or in that service, one should not be relax on his chanting. Ultimately, we have to understand everything is arranged by Krishna, or Radharani actually, for the service of Krishna. So it's not by me going and collecting funds, the funds will be collected. No way. But it doesn't mean I don't go. I have to go if funds are required for the temple construction. But they're fine line. One, do not neglect our chanting, our sadhana bhakti. Second, understand it's not by me going, I am collecting funds, and only by mercy of Radharani, Krishna, Prabhupada, that the funds are coming.
Hmm. Hmm. Right, Prabhuji. So, after reading this passage, one is materially very situated in a very high position. One should not think in a manner that, okay, I have to leave whatever I'm currently doing and I have to focus more on bhakti. Rather, whatever they are doing, they can engage everything into the service of Krishna. So that means that will be considered as a proper uses of their own material property or whatever. That should be the way or
Ah, see, see, beta, everybody's level is different.
right.
So we cannot make a general statement.
Hmm.
Yudhishthira Maharaj was the king of the whole universe, or whole planet Earth, but he just didn't give up the planet because Krishna put him there as in charge. So everybody is different. We have to. That's a specific from person to person. It varies.
So what we should do, Prabhuji?
Chant. Really, that's a solution. Only solution. Krishna will guide from inside. Once we get too much into chanting, Krishna will guide. Not just guide, he will open the path that he wants us to take.
Hmm.
And it's also said of course people say the whole universe. I'm not going to say the whole universe, but the energies of the universe will guide us towards that path. So all we have to do is chant, become more advanced, and then we'll know what Krishna wants me to do.
Yes. So one thing I cannot be sure that whether I'm doing, whether I'm progressing or regressing. But yes, chanting is in my ability or capability, which I can do. Um, uh, so if one constantly engages in attentive chanting, so naturally the faith develops. So one faith develops for Lord, then definitely whatever decision we need to take in the material world, so that turns little more stronger in the detachment develops naturally, right, Guruji?
Yeah, and even if seemingly or apparently the decision apparently might look wrong, then I made a mistake. No, but Krishna, either he will take care of it or he has arranged that kind of decision for us to go through some rectification.
Simple, I mean, in an essence, like I can only understand that I don't need to be so doubtful or confused. I just need to need to have the surrendered attitude, and then I need to only focus what is being instructed to me. So rest of the things will be taken care by Krishna itself.
That's why devotees are always happy.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Krishna also says in 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is joyfully performed. This bhakti is joyfully performed. Just enjoy. Krishna is there to take care.
Right, Prabhuji. So that much of
he might look like a little baby behind me, but he has shown his universal form to us.
yes, Prabhuji.
So what can we do in front of him? Let him do. And he's there. He says, I'll take care. Don't worry. So let him take care. Why bother?
Yes, Prabhuji, every day hearing also sometimes I feel like that faith, the kind of faith which I should have in me, I am not really be able to, develop that faith. That's why so much of confusion and doubts. So I am hearing the
That's why.
instructions constantly, but still not been able to implement actually. So,
It takes time. I'm not saying it doesn't take time. It takes time. But when he says in Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Kshemam Vahamya, I personally carry what one lacks and I preserve what one have, then where is the... Yes, doubt is there. I'm not saying it's not there. Thinking, oh, well, Krishna has so many devotees to take care of, maybe he will not notice me, or I'm not even a devotee, or whatever. But he's there to help. He's always there. And even if he's not there for a second, even if we think, Prabhupada is always
yes. Yes.
there. Just talk to Prabhupada. Whenever you're in doubt, talk to Prabhupada.
Yes, Prabhuji. We can praise the Supreme Lord from our acharyas and guru only.
Yeah. And ultimately, this is Prabhupada's movement.
Yes.
We are doing it, whatever Prabhupada told us, is telling us, right?
Yes, right.
So it's his responsibility.
True. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mata. Thank you. Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Jai